Hi everybody, this is Sabrina with your Night Nugget, and I just want to show you something. Do you see what that is right there? It looks like a big mess, and actually it is. What you're looking at is preaching taco soup. That's right, everybody. Write it down. You heard it here first. Preaching taco soup. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you real quick. What happened yesterday is our pastor preached a sermon, and it was actually, he taught and he preached. That's kind of how he does. But anyway, and it was about, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. And it was all about hearing the voice of God. So this morning I was going to take some taco soup into the office, and as I'm standing there and wrapping it up and trying to get out of here on time, it just very gently, very gentle nudging. Put some plastic wrap around that. You see, my family, Leslie, she taught me and showed me about this wrap. You wrap this stuff around one of your Tupperware bowls, that stuff will not come off. It secures it very well. But I was like, I pushed past the little unction and I said, no, that's okay. I'm all right, I'm fine. And I started out the door with it in my hand. And don't you know, before I could get out of this here kitchen, the taco soup flipped over and it spilled in the bottom of this bag. And I just stood there and I looked at it and I was like, oh, so I cleaned up all the mess, threw it away in the trash can in the bag and headed out the door. As I'm pulling up at church, a little bit more firmly, I hear, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. And I'm like, oh, and I just started cracking up laughing. I said, God, even in the small things, you try to direct us and you give us insight and you give us information. We're trying to save time. I'm trying to save time. If I would have just listened to God, that gentle nudging that said, wrap it up in some plastic, that would have never happened to me. I wouldn't have spilled the taco soup and I wouldn't have been late to work this morning. And I just put on public that I was late to work this morning, and my pastor and my boss might be listening, but I'm sorry. I had to clean up the taco soup because I wasn't obedient. I didn't listen. So anyway, then I was on the phone later on and I talked to my pastor and I said, Pastor, can I tell you what happened? And I explained it to him. And he said, you know what? I didn't get to cover that, but right here in my notes, and he talked to me how out of Proverbs it tells us, God tells us that we acknowledge him in all of our ways and he shall direct our paths. It's the small foxes that spoil the vine. God wants to speak to us about the things that we consider so small in our life. He wants to talk to us and he wants to direct us. But when we say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening, we really do have to listen. And the small things as well as the big things. Don't you love serving a God who's concerned about the taco soup? I just love God. This is Sabrina with your Night Nugget saying, when he speaks, listen. And when you don't, just say, God, I'm sorry. And just chuckle at yourself. We're all learning as we're living. Night, night.